Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you so much for being here just in time for the big one, the title bout. This is the showdown. We have Chiefs Esports Club taking on Tainted Minds. My name is Pixie. I'm joined here tonight by Avril here on Heroes League TV. Avril, talk us through this matchup.
This is the one I've been really waiting for tonight. We had a really big match last night, but tonight it's all about Chiefs versus Tainted Minds. So I'm looking at the Chiefs, the Tainted Minds lineup that has actually entered the lobby now. Snowblind is here to play tonight. That's going to be big, but not only that, but Chapos is finally back. Chapos has been missing. He's been like MIA for a few days, basically a week maybe. After RF LAN, Chapos just kind of disappeared. So here comes Chapos again. The Chapman brothers are back in action. They're playing on the same team. They're ready to go. They live together in a house with Zero, I'm being told as well. So there's a little background information for you. They're actually playing together from the same house. I'm expecting some really good synergy from these two players, but Chapos is one of their core players on the Tainted Minds side as well. So you've basically got the best possible Tainted Minds lineup you can have for tonight, and if at any point Tainted Minds are going to take it to Chiefs, it's going to be tonight because they have the best players possible.
Yeah, and I'm just so excited to see these teams play. Like you said, there's been some changes around with these guys with their rosters, and we've got some really exciting looking rosters. We've also got a couple of maps that have also proved to be really exciting, especially, surprisingly enough, that Lijiang Tower. King of the Hill, often not super favored for competitive matches, but since the overtime changes have come in, that's changed, and we've seen some really exciting games with some really interesting strategies and really close matches come out across all levels of play. So I'm actually really excited to just get into that one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, this is the thing I'm really excited about for tonight, is the fact that we're going to see these guys go on two very distinct, very separate maps. It's not going to be a double payload brawl. Basically, you're going to have a Koth and you're going to have a payload. You're going to see what these teams are capable on across two different game modes, and these two different game modes require two different play styles and two different mindsets to basically take properly. So how these guys are going to react to this new patch, this is, once again, every time we see some of the top teams play, they're sort of doing something a little bit differently than other teams, and they're sort of bringing something new to the table that we might not have seen before, and that's actually what I want to see as well. I want to see how Chiefs have adapted to this new patch now. I want to see how these guys have actually adapted to the patch even from today. Are we going to finally see Anna? Because I think it takes for a really competent team to actually be able to run that hero properly, and I know that Hey Katie is a good sniper. If they want to run a support lineup, which I've seen some of the North American teams run, I expect this Katie to jump straight into the Anna. If not, who knows? But these are the guys that have the skill to pull these lineups off, so that's what I really want to see if they'll do tonight.
Yeah, we have had members from these top-level teams saying that there is definitely room for Anna on Dorado. It might not be her shining beacon map, if you will. There are probably other maps she's a little bit more suited to, but there is room. They feel there is room, and maybe this is the night that room gets occupied. Let's just bring the focus onto Lijiang, though, because we've already seen some adaptations with how that is played just within the few days we've seen it played so far. And one of the big ones has been the favoring of that Reinhardt over the Winston. We actually just talked to Twiggy about that. Twiggy, of course, from Quentium, who won the previous match here tonight. And why they've been making that change. And it's because of how you need to defend King of the Hill maps. So do we reckon these teams are going to make that same adaptation, or do we think they're a bit more comfortable just brawling it out?
Well, the thing about these teams is they know what they're good at, and to be honest, if you don't have a really strong reason or a strong if you don't think you have a strong reason to make an adaptation, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you have something that works, you can just keep going for it. But if you believe that there's something better for you, then by all means go for it. I don't know if this Reinhardt thing is where the meta's going to go. I only really started seeing it 2 nights ago, or really last night when Jam brought it out. But it's certainly interesting to see. But I think these guys are still very much comfortable with what they're good at. They've shown what they've been really good at, and I want to see if they're going to stick to that or not. One thing of note tonight is that Ori is back in the lineup at the moment for Chiefs. I know Ori took a bit of a step back, but he's going to be playing tonight. Smorglet's also going to be playing tonight. The only Chiefs member not showing up to tonight's match is Rep, who's one of their subs. So Chiefs, although they lose Snowblind, they've still got a really solid lineup consisting of some of their sub players, including Smorglet, who does a really good job. So we'll see how they go here.
Yeah, I don't even know how many ways I can say I'm excited, because I am really excited, and like don't dare think I'm lying to you, viewer. I'm shaking here. I'm just so keen to jump into this first map, because this is potentially the best we've seen either of these teams' lineups for a long time. As much as there are still some questions about, for example, how well Snowblind is going to gel into this Tainted Mind squad.
True.
There is still just the precedent that he's a really great player, and the Tainted Minds are a really great team as well. And you just ran us through, the changes with Chiefs as well, the players that they have back on their lineup.
One more change I forgot to mention, and that I'm still a bit curious about, is who is picking up for tonight anyway. I'm not talking about for future, but just for tonight, who's going to be the new DPS player for the Chiefs lineup? Because Snowblind was their core DPS, and now they have Katie still, but who's picking up, who's going to be stepping into Snowblind's shoes? I have a feeling it could be Dorky. If it's not Dorky, I expect it to be Smorglet. But it'll be interesting to see. I think the teams are actually ready now, so I really want to get into this map if we can.
Yeah, I'm going to throw straight into Lijiang here, and you're right, I feel like it almost has to be Smorglet. I mean, it could be Hey Katie, but you said it yourself. Hey Katie is already
he's already one of the DPS players, so it's either going to be Dorky or Smorglet stepping up to take the second DPS slot.
And on Lijiang, first thing I'm actually noticing right off the bat, Channy is hovering over Mercy. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but we've seen Mercy fall right out of favor, even by Tainted Mind, so maybe coming back in on this Lijiang.
It's possible, but I still think Mercy right now for King of the Hill is a little bit too slow. I like the Zenyatta Lucio setup that most teams are going for now. You do need the Lucio to get the speed for King of the Hill. The speed is really important because both teams, there's no distinct attacking or defending roles in this. You're both basically attacking and defending at both points in the map, so you need the mobility that Lucio gives you on this map. You see Channy going back to the Lucio. Something else I want to talk about is that Tomo has actually switched to the Flex now, and Aporia is going to be playing on tank. That's something I've seen recently from their matches as well, that Tomo is now their core Flex player. And there you go, you see Dorky onto the DPS, so that's the lineup change that they've made. Smorglet's going to be playing the second support slot over Ori on the first main support with the Lucio. Here comes the match starting right now.
Yeah, and speaking of Turmo on their flex, it's going to be D.Va. D.Va out the gate. We've seen a lot of Zarya. We've seen a lot of other tank champions and Chapos on the Zarya as well. But D.Va already able to take down Noid, actually. That's pretty significant. Aporia does fall over. So this is just a bit of trading before the point opens. Now the team quite getting the upper hand. They're trying to route Chapos, though, as he is getting a little bit low. But while we've still got a moment, talk to us about that D.Va.
Well, the D.Va pick has been really good. You can see here Tomo already picking up his second kill. He's a frontline beast, and the new defense matrix has just made D.Va so good.
And the brawl going on by the point has just kept Chiefs off it, as Tainted Minds are on it. Sorry, other way round. Tainted Minds off it, Chiefs are on it, and that's going to be the cap to start it off. Now it's up to Chiefs. Tainted Minds even. I don't know how I'm getting these two teams mixed up. I know exactly who these players are. And now it's going to be the attack coming on by Tainted Minds. Not quite able to find anyone just yet. And they do push the Lucio off the side. Channy out of the picture. Elmo already out. Timo out of the mech.
Wow.
And that's a huge,
so much work.
Wow, and they're going to be able to get right back onto the point, keep it held with just a sliver of contest left as they push Chapos off, and that's a hold.
Let's talk about how much work Tomo is doing right now, because how early did he get that ultimate? He got the self-destruct up so fast, and what he actually did is he got the early kills in this match. Straight out of the gate, he picked up the first kill. Getting those early kills means he can get the self-destruct, and then he gets a triple kill off the back of that point. 41% now for Chiefs. They're the ones making this hold. They're going to pick up a couple more ultimates, but all the ultimates on the side of Tainted Minds. Here comes on that push. They're going to make this happen.
Snowblind goes down in the middle of the Deadeye, and the sound barrier is good, but it's not going to be enough to keep Channy alive. Unfortunately, a bit of a jump off the edge there for Noid, and that's going to be another attack from Tainted Minds, just completely stopped up Snowblind getting picked super early on, and then Arporia did heaps of work sowing the seeds of chaos.
Yeah, KKD also has Dragon Blade. In fact, both of the team's Genjis have a Dragon Blade. The DPS players are completely mirrored. I haven't actually seen D-Field play this Genji yet. Here comes under the push by Tainted Minds. What are they going to do here, though? They have a lot of ultimates up. They really need to get a combo in there.
Hey, Katie. Whew, hey, Katie tried to get in behind, didn't quite find anyone. Now they're just going to go ahead and play. Oh, that's a huge black hole, and here comes all the ultimates on top of it. But that nuke is massive, completely stops up any follow-up to the black hole, along with that Transcendence there. But they are managing to fight the push through. Turmo forced out of the back. They found Dorky and Aporia, which was key. Going to route Turmo out of there as well, and this is going to be a cap and response by Tainted Minds. I'll tell you what, the Chiefs did a lot of work trying to ensure that black hole was not effective, but they ended up using so many ults doing that, they didn't really have any for the actual fight.
Yeah, the good thing about Chiefs is that they got 98% on the point, which means they're so far capped that A, they only need to win one fight to actually win the map, and B, they're allowed to fail a few pushes here. They can make mistakes here, they can feel the other team out, they can wait and build ultimates, but they don't want to do that. Katie's going to go straight in with a Dragon Blade.
Really deep finds Channing at the start, picks Elmo as well. That's going to be really big now, looking to get on top of the tanks. Unfortunately, that's difficult, but he does find Noid, and this is just going to be a straight recap from Chiefs. 6 men on, 6 men off for Tainted Minds, 99%. Overtime is going to tick on out, and that is Tainted Minds Dunzo.
Dunzo indeed. I think that one of the key differences there was just the amount of pressure that you saw Turmo put on the point with the D.Va. We were just starting to talk about the D.Va, and you even Pixie, you didn't even sound completely convinced about the D.Va, but what a performance from Turmo on the D.Va, just showing how dominant you can actually be.
Yeah, really great use. We're going to swap over to that Zarya as well. So that's obviously something they've really planned out and worked on to bring out specifically on that map. And we might actually see it out in the garden as well later on. But
this is interesting.
Yeah, Katie on Tracer. Let's go ahead and talk about that. I like that on this control room. I think that's a really smart pickup because that mobility in these really tight corners, really tight spaces with all the cover is so hard to deal with.
Well, the other thing he could have gone for is the Genji, but really Tracer and Genji have a similar role in the DPS slot here. They both get on the back line of the offense, and they're both really annoying and difficult to deal with. And the Zarya shield actually does a lot of work for those two players as well. Poirier getting the first kill on the way, the first one dying again.
Turmo as well has fallen over, but they found Snowblind, and this could well be all they need. Katie doing a lot of work, sowing the seeds of chaos again. We've talked about that before. Chapo's falling over, and this looks like it's going to be Chiefs just getting right onto the point. Elmo does find Katie, and Poirier has fallen over, but I don't think it's going to really be enough for Tainted Minds to get a convincing push onto here as Elmo goes down to a boop, and that's going to be the cap for Chiefs.
I don't think Katie would have been too pleased with that one. He lost the 1v1 to Elmo on the Zenyatta, but Elmo just did a really good shot. Probably got a headshot there. I didn't actually quite check what happened. But once again, Chief's going to be the first ones getting the cap point, 12% already. It's not looking as bad as last time here. Tainted Mind's going to go for another push. They haven't lost that much on the cap timer. No one has ultis here. Snowflake is the first pick. That's actually really big for Tainted Mind.
But hey, Katie has gone down. That's going to be a really big opening. Their ultimate was also used, and they've survived that handily. Channy does have a sound barrier, throws it down, but Donkey and Aporia, they've already fallen off. This is just a really, really clean fight by Tainted Minds, looking to pick out the rest now, trying to get on top of Chapos and Channy. They are going to route Chapos, Turmo out of the fight, looking at the complete wrong Zarya name there. It was Chapos doing the damage to Turmo, and that's a cap.
I want to compliment how well D-Field played that last offense. He actually shut Dorky out completely from the point. He went for the 1v1 duel against Dorky on the McCree and actually stopped Dorky on the McCree from really doing anything, and he won that game basically off the back of the flashbang deflex.
Oh, Aporia throwing out a Death Blossom, finding Chapos and D-Field is really just going to secure this fight for Chiefs. Tainted Minds backed up a lot, and I'm not entirely sure why. They kind of ceded the point.
Turmo showing he's a master of multiple different flex classes here. His Zarya is definitely something to be feared. He's actually being the one picking up a lot of kills here. You're not actually seeing the DPS players showing that much because Turmo is just taking most of these kills. Katie's not doing too much of a bad job here, but they do have a combo ready.
Oh, they throw down a really great black hole. There's going to be the aggressive transcendent, High Noon to come out as well. Does not quite find anyone. Dorky gets picked off, but they've totally cleaned house here now as Elmo and Snowblind get picked up at the back of the fight as well. It was only Dorky to go down. and that was a really great hold by Chiefs.
Yeah, and KD still manages to hold on to his pulse bomb. If you have one of the big DPS ulti sets, Snowblind actually got to change onto the Tracer as well. He's feeling that action. He's saying, well, you know what? You can, KD, I've been on your team. You were my ex-teammate. I can show you how to play Tracer as well.
And already he's kind of schooling Katie, just doing a ton of damage, but no, gets flashbanged out by Dorky. A little bit of an overextension there. Katie himself now falling over, and this is a really, really strong stronghold by both. Stronghold and push is what I'm trying to say, because there's a lot of people dead, and this could be down to what Noid is able to do with this Primal Rage. He's able to push the last remaining member, Ori, off, and that's going to be a cap. That was a lot of deaths all across the board. I'm not even sure how Tainted Minds were really able to secure that, but hey,
it really came down to the McCree duel right at the end. It was D-Field versus Dorky, and whichever McCree wins that duel would have taken the point, because there weren't any more DPS players left in that fight. And I do believe D-Field's McCree is one of the best out there. I've seen his McCree before. It is absolutely spot on, and I don't know how Dorky's going to deal with this. I don't think Dorky can really 1v1 D-Field at this stage.
Ooh, really nice pulse bomb, not quite able to take someone out of the fight. Elmo finally falls over, not able to get a tranquility, did not have it available in time. That's going to be a defensive sound barrier, and that stops up the Death Blossom. That is huge. Looking to find Ori now. They pick that one off. D-Field fighting. That gets a stun down on Turmo. The barrier is there, though. They pick off D-Field. The recap again to come out of Chiefs. And this looks like it's going to be a secure, unless Noid can do something absolutely nuts. But no, he is just too far away, and that is a win for Chiefs.
It was a win for Chiefs, but Tainted Minds looked a lot stronger on the control center than they did on the night markets. I feel like they struggled a lot more. Turmo's D.Va just doing so much work on the night markets. He's still doing a lot of work on the Xayah, but Tainted Minds felt a lot more comfortable on that map, and they, you know, one of the key things that actually helped them, but I feel like Snowblind finally changing the Tracer did actually help them, and D-Field going on to his Pocket McCree pick that he's so well known for definitely as well, but it might have been a little bit too late. I feel like maybe if they went for that lineup a little bit earlier, made the adjustments a little bit earlier, they would have had a better time on Control Center.
I also want to talk about Hey Katie going on to that Tracer right at the start, because again, that's obviously something Chiefs had planned out. We saw them do the D.Va on the first one. They look really, really well rehearsed, and that Tracer just did a lot of work. It wasn't quite as flashy as when a Genji pulls out a Dragon Blade, gets a whole heap of kills, but he was constantly stopping Tainted Minds from getting into the positions they wanted to make their attacks, which is exactly what Tracer does. So, Hey Katie just pulling that off without all that much contest really speaks to how much havoc it caused for Tainted Minds, and I'm not surprised they made that adaptation themselves. Unfortunately, like you said, a little bit too late, and next map is going to be Dorado. Let's talk about that.
You know, this is the one where we're going to finally see hopefully a bit more patience from the teams. Well, it's really, this map is a big test of patience. Koth, you really just have to run in there. It's a control point map. The time is constantly ticking down. You don't have a chance to just sit by. You have to keep go. On a map like Dorado, there's a bit more breathing space. I kind of said it on the last match, but you know, it's part of the reason why Xayah can't keep her damage up. She's good for the black hole, but Xayah's damage really suffers, and I don't know if Turmo is going to stay on the Xayah pick. We have seen Turmo play on the D.Va. I'm half expecting him to go on that again for the offense. I don't expect the D.Va on defense, but for offense, I think Turmo is going to bring back the D.Va, and you know, that's going to be the crucial pick. And Aporia looking like he's playing tank at the moment. He's definitely bringing out the Reinhardt. This is something that's really interesting for the Chiefs lineup as well, as you've got a bit of a roster shuffle with Aporia going from support to tank and Dorky going from flex to DPS. So far it's shown that they've managed to make it work, but you are seeing the slight kinks in their armor, so to speak. You know, Dorky is losing the 1v1s to D-Field. I don't know if he's strong enough on the DPS pick to go up against both Snowblind and D-Field. And same with Aporia, if he's had enough experience to jump on that tank right away, because Turmo's shoes as a tank player, Turmo was one of the best Reinhardt players from my point of view, and for Aporia to fill those shoes, it's definitely quite a bit of an ask. But if the teams are ready to go, I'm ready to see Dorado and see how these guys do. Oh,
and I'm so pumped. Again, how many different ways can I really say pumped? And you mentioned those chinks in the armor. Look, if anyone can exploit them, it's Tainted Minds. You know, they've got all the individual talent, and when we've talked to them as well, they have really great and really clear shot calling. We've seen them make adaptations quickly and smartly. Even with these lineup changes, they still seem to have that capability. So I fully expect them to have a really strong showing here on Dorado, and I wouldn't be surprised as well if we walk away tonight with a 1-1.
It's entirely possible. Don't forget, for anybody that aren't familiar with these teams just yet, in the past, Tainted Minds has not only taken maps, but they took an entire match off of Chiefs Esports Club. This is back in I guess the first couple of weeks of the release. I think this was within the first 2, maybe 3 weeks of the release, but Tainted Minds basically came out of nowhere, beat Chiefs, and then beat Untitled Spreadsheet in the final of the tournament to actually claim a tournament win for themselves, beating 2 of the top teams in the region at that point. So don't count Tainted Minds out just yet. They might have lost 0-2 on Lijiang, but they've shown in the past they have the capability to beat these teams, and they can still do it tonight.
Here's a really interesting thing. Dorky is on Junkrat. We actually saw that being put out in defense previously as well. I'm trying to remember, I believe it was the Victor's Quentium who pulled it out. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in any case, they didn't get too much mileage out of it because they ended up ceding those first 2 points quite quickly. But the theory was certainly there, and we did see what it was meant to do. I think Dorky could have a much stronger showing on that here. How is that meant to work, though? Explain that to the viewers.
Well, I mean, you see the lineup here with Turmo and Dorky. You have really good spam coming out from these defensive players, and what they're really trying to do here is, because they're both heroes that put out a lot of AoE damage and really safely spam over the top with their arching. The left click damage is basically, they're like grenades, they arch over objects and stuff like that, so you can see the spam coming out already, even from Zenyatta and Lucio on the backside as well. They're basically just trying to chunk out the other team before they can even come in. Look how choky this archway is.
It's really working. Elmo, D-Field, and Channy are already really low. Dorky now backing way up to safety and coming back around. The healing is there, though, so they're going to be able to top off mostly before this fight really starts to break out. No ultimates available just yet. Actually, going really deep on the backline there. Noid, he does make a bit of space, but he does also fall over.
Work.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of work just keeping these attackers completely shut out. Noid, like I said, he tried to find the window. That being said, he is just testing the waters. It's the first fight of the match, and now they have maybe a little bit of a better idea of what exactly it is the defenders are trying to do here.
Well, the good thing is they've managed to push the cart past the best part of the point to spam. You see, the part where Chiefs really want to get their spam into is this under archway, and where they can really succeed is if the cart's sitting there as well, because then it makes the movement really restricted for the attackers. But the cart's actually pushed up now. If the attackers, if Tainted Minds can get there in there quickly enough, they can actually make a push where they can't get chunked out too much. You actually see Noid on the backline. Wow, I think he's gonna die.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a really cheeky pincer flank, but it got sniffed out and Noid goes down, and this is again the attacking side is going to be completely routed. The speed boost to come in, Snowblind really low, finally falls over, and they find just a whole bunch of kills there. That was not how you set up a fight.
I did see Noid come around the backside with the Winston chop. I think they were actually going to go for a pincer movement, but Noid just got caught out way too early. He must have been spotted. And then Hey Katie, wanting none of that business, chases him down and completely shuts him, kills him. You actually see D-Field, I believe. He wants to go in the back line now. Look at where D-Field is right now.
Yeah, Noid is actually doing the same kind of thing as well. They're kind of taking slightly different sides here for this flank.
Here he goes.
He's going in right on top of the Lucio to start with. Does not quite find it and gets a Discord on him. He's going to have to back away, but they have set it up a little bit D-Field in a fairly decent position, Noid as well. And this could be the pincer fight if they're able to break it out. And they're going for a brawl here. If they can shut out the McCree, that
look at Chapos, look at the rest of Tainted Minds coming in now.
Doing so much, trying to get right on top of it. There goes the Elmo going right in with the Transcendence. Noid going really deep on the backline, swinging about with the Primal Rage, and stops up the big bad Wheel of Death. That is a really nice Gravitron, but the follow-in isn't quite there. They do find Channy and Snowblind. Now here comes the follow-in as they find Elmo and Chapos as well. Noid can only do so much work. Here's but one Gorilla, and again a really convincing hold by Chiefs.
Let's look at the problem here. D-Field did sort of an okay job of distracting the Chiefs players, but when the time finally came for Tainted Minds to make the push, D-Field actually died, and not only did he die with a Dragon Blade. Tainted Minds really needed to take use of that ulti to make the push, but the worst thing that Tainted Minds did in that point was, even though D-Field died, even though he died with an ultimate, they blew the ultimates anyway, and now they're really stuck. They don't have enough ultimates, or they might do. We'll have to see how they go, but Dorky already picks up a kill. Hey Katie getting a pick on Snowblind. They're losing their DPS players really quickly. It looks like Tainted Minds are going to get routed again, Pixie.
It absolutely does, and apologies for that one, guys. I had a little bit of an issue with my microphone. I was talking, you couldn't hear me, but that was actually a fairly decent fight again. Sorry, a decent fight for Tainted Minds, but still not quite coming through. And hey, Katie getting the pick on Snowblind was just massive.
Look at
ultimates now for the attackers.
What is Noid doing right now? He just wants to die, but he's dying very slowly. He's going to get separated from the rest of his team. Only 1 minute left to take this point, Pixie, and I feel like Tainted Minds have used all of the resources they can possibly use. They're now completely dry of any ultimates, but Aporia still has an Earth Shatter. I mean, the next ultimate to come up is going to be Elmo's Transcendence, but it's questionable whether that's going to be enough.
It's definitely not enough, to say the least. Like, it's going to be an uphill battle for Tainted Minds, and I'm not even sure if they have the individual skill at this point to win that uphill battle, just because these two teams are quite tightly matched in terms of individual skill. Normally, I'd give it over to Tainted Minds, but now I'm not so sure as they come for a flank down the stairs, looking to go in, charging on in. They bump the Reinhardt out, but that's a massive hammer down, catches almost the entire attacking squad, and Slam Duncan gets taken out. The Transcendence not going to be there in time. Aporia does fall over, but Noid is miles away from the fight. Channing Chapo's a slow down. Snowblind, sorry, a dead. D-Field as well. Elmo to follow. Noid trying to move that payload just a little bit more, but it's going to be it. They don't have time to really make another push happen, and if they do get this cap, it's going to be in the most extreme overtime we've ever seen, and with a really ropey, long, protracted thing. So, not even going to happen. Chiefs, iron defense on that first point. Or even was that a wet noodle attack by Tainted Minds? It just looked like they couldn't ever crack the armor.
Let's look at what happened with Tainted Minds right at the end of the game. They had their final push, but I mean, that wasn't the push they needed to make to win the game. It was actually a push they made before that. It was the push where D-Field died with an ultimate, the push where they used everything. They used basically all their ultimates, minus D-Field, went for the 5v6. It wasn't successful. They came back, and they just didn't have enough to make another push. I mean, Elmo finally got his Transcendence at the end, but it was after his team already got picked off by a beautiful hammer down by Aporia, and just having a Transcendence on himself and two other players, I mean, there's nothing you can do at that point. You got about 30 seconds left to cap the point. 3 of your players are dead. You've Transcendence really nothing at that point, and it's just all over for Tainted Minds. They couldn't break the hold. They couldn't break Chief's hold.
Yeah, and slightly dodgy looking ultimate management as well from Tainted Minds there. You mentioned it a couple of times, just blowing them when they kind of already lost the fight. But the interesting thing is when you go for those kinds of pincers setups, as much as these players are all in voice chat with one another, when you don't have that line of sight, it's a lot easier to not realize how badly the fight is going and to blow an ultimate when actually it's not going to have enough of an impact. So in a lot of situations, I feel like that flanking maneuver would have done a lot of work, but in this situation it didn't, and it's quite an all or nothing strategy. I'm surprised that Tainted Minds not only pulled it out when they had plenty of time, but they pulled it out twice in a row.
Here's the thing that I feel like Tainted Minds, if they had played a sort of different play style where I feel like I know what they wanted to do, but the execution just wasn't there. Both the times they had a player behind, if their team could make a push and allow that player to make some picks on the backline, it would have really worked. They had D-Field on the Genji on the backline. He revealed himself really early. I was a little bit unsure about that. I thought, okay, look, it's pretty good because he hasn't shown himself yet. The team, Chiefs, doesn't know that D-Field is there. If Tainted Minds can make a push in here with D-Field on the backline already, because the biggest thing for Genji is he needs to get to the backline to make those kills. He revealed himself far too early, and I just don't know what Tainted Minds could do after that. It just looked really sloppy.
Yeah, this is a really, it sounds weird to say, but it's a non-standard defense here from Tainted Minds. They're going to go pick that Mercy up, and I think it's because they can't even afford to see this first point, so they can't afford to take that.
Right.
Yep. Been talking about. They need the res so badly.
Not only that, but you're going to see Noid on the Diva. This is a bit of a difference from the way Chiefs held. Chiefs used a Xayah, which they're still going to keep. I did say Chiefs might have gone for the Diva again. I was wrong. They're not actually going to play the Diva, although I feel like they would do pretty well with it, because look at the problem here. If Tainted Minds lose this point, they lose the game. So all Chiefs need to do is, if they played an aggressive lineup, they could take this point fairly quickly. And even if that lineup fails, well, you got a lot of time to make this push happen. But looks like they just want to take it slowly. They're going to let Xayah do a lot of work on the back line. And, you know, once Aporia is ready to jump in, that's what's going to happen. Wow, Elmo! That's bad.
Elmo
that's really
got
bad.
pigs! They could not afford that. They have... No. Only Chenny as the healer now. Oh, this is just chaos. D-Field has fallen. Chenny's going to fall down as well, and they've only found Aporia. What on earth just happened? Tainted Mind's in total disarray now as Noid is the last to fall.
It's gonna be the GG, pretty much.
No way! Chiefs in one quick fight secured Dorado, and they made it look so effortless. It was like they flicked their wrist and it was done. Now this trickle-in fight is just not going to happen. Elmo, Chapo's to fall after him. Now it's going to be the next one to come in. D Fields, Channy as well to fall. Noid the next one, and Snowblind will be the last. In fact, he's barely even going to bother. This is going to be a cap. Tainted Minds. I hate to be too brutal about it, but they just did not play that well at all. They did not sniff out the flank, and when you've got a Mercy, when you're so reliant on Mercy, you can never afford for that to happen.
Not only that, but you need time to build up the ultimates. As a big part of the defense is, if you know you have to hold this, you can't afford to be taking too many fights early on. You need a bit of spam to happen. You need the fight to be protracted, so your players get an opportunity to build an ulti, not only because you want to use it during the fight, but even if you lose the fight, if you come back in, if their players have had ulti coming back in, they could have maybe contested. D.Va could have used something, even could have used self-destruct. It would have forced Chiefs to separate. You know, D-Field might have been able to pop a Deadeye, something they could have done, but when they trickled back in, they had nothing. They had to trickle back in with nothing but their basic abilities. No ultis backed them up, and there was just no way for them to retake that point.
We talked at such great length about how potentially evenly matched these two teams were, and honestly they still are, but on Dorado, Chiefs just won. Like, hands down they won. Even if that hadn't have just been a first point kind of win, they were the better team there through and through. And when they were the ones who also clearly had plans for Lijiang, and as well won that map, you kind of wonder if maybe Chiefs just put in the hard yards, put in more preparation than Tainted Minds. And also, given the lack of those clear-cut strategies we've seen from other teams, at least these other top-level teams earlier in the week, I wonder if Chiefs are really the only team putting in this much work. And hey, it's paid off tonight. Maybe it's going to continue to pay off in the weeks to come.
It'll be interesting to see. The biggest thing that is basically secured for me anyway. One of the biggest questions I had was about the Chiefs lineup, and I was concerned about how they were going to adapt to their new players switching positions. I mean, it's not even just one player. You have Aporia switching, you have Dorky switching, you have Turmo switching. There's a lot of movement within even your own team, and that's on top of losing a player, a core DPS player. So the biggest question I had was, can Chiefs kind of, I guess, adapt quickly enough? Are their players ready to make the adaptation onto the other roles, and can they do it, you know, effectively and keep their synergy going and keep their skill up across different roles? And I think tonight, after seeing that performance, they can, and they will continue to do that. And I mean, at this point, Chiefs just look so solid.
Yeah, Chiefs definitely on the up and up here. I'm not quite sure when to be playing Untitled Spreadsheets next. It seems kind of strange to say that because, you know, Untitled Spreadsheet, they are still the best team in the league, and it feels weird to, after this match, go, but when are they playing this other team? But that's going to be the trial by fire for Chiefs, looking even better than they were before. So I'm excited to see that one. And we are going to be getting a couple of the members in to join us for a quick interview already with Aporia in the room. Hi, Aporia. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, what's going on? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, awesome.
Oh, welcome, Brad. How are you doing tonight? Sorry, I hope you don't mind me using your name. Congrats on the win. You guys had a really stellar performance tonight. Were you guys pleased with how the matches went?
Yeah, definitely. It's always kind of hard to predict what's going to happen with Tainted when we play against them, just because they do play a style that lends itself to either big wins or sometimes big losses. So I'm glad it was a big win for us tonight. Definitely happy with that.
I guess the first thing I want to talk about is you guys have obviously had quite a few lineup changes. Was this going to be a factor? Like how? I guess there's a lot of questions about that. Really, I mean, Snowblind going over to Tainted Minds. Let's cover that base first. I mean, what was going through your mind knowing that you were going to be playing against Snowblind tonight, being that he's been on your team for so long, he knows the way you guys play? Was that a factor for you guys to have to go up against that?
Actually, probably less than you think. Part of it is obviously the meta change has changed things up a bit. Also, our role change. Part of the reason that the whole shuffle happened was because a couple of our players simply weren't enjoying the game on the classes that they were playing, and that includes me. So, with me moving to tank and Termo moving to flex, and obviously for now we've got Ori and Smog happy to fill in for us on support while we look for something more permanent. It's obviously a big change, and we play differently because of that, which I think kind of helped with that side of things. With worrying about Cole.
I definitely said towards the end of the cast that one of the biggest issues for me was I was concerned about how you guys would be able to adapt to the shuffle if these new positions were going to be good for your team, and it looks like you guys have managed to do a really good job of fitting into the new roles. I guess the biggest question that I want to ask, and also for the viewers, I guess it's the question that's really on their minds, and feel free to give as much or as little detail as you want, depending on how you feel about this question. But what happened with Snowblind? I mean, he looked really good on your team, and now he's on Tainted Minds. Where did he go?
I mean, that's a hard question for a lot of different reasons. I think one of the better sides of that is that we've all played games for a long time, and we've been playing together and against each other for ages as well. And obviously, it was never going to be an easy thing for us and Cole to part ways, regardless of how it happened. Honestly, there were just a lot of factors on both sides of it that led to it. But I think the biggest one was definitely that it was either make a hard choice now as a team, or face people just stopping playing because they weren't having fun and weren't enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
So it was kind of for long-term stability, you have to make difficult choices in the short term. And hopefully, especially now that Carl's started to find a place in Tainted, hopefully it ends up working out best for everyone in that sense.
Yeah, thanks for sharing even just that with us. I know it must be quite a bit of a sensitive question, but it's something that's been on, I guess, for people that haven't followed really closely on the minds of particularly the other players in the scene, or the spectators and just people that follow the scene in general. So thanks for sharing that with us, and I know it's a bit of a sensitive topic, so we're probably going to move on a little bit. Pixie, I know you had a few questions about the actual game.
And I've got a bit of an easier one for you, Aporia. You guys very clearly prepared. You had particular picks for each individual map on Lijiang, so how much work went into that preparation?
I'm going to be honest, we watched 2 VODs tonight at 7 o'clock.
Hey, that counts.
Just grab some ideas there. We've been, over the last couple of nights, we've been trialing people. People probably saw the application form I put up on ANZ Discord and on Twitter. So we've been trialing people, and it's always difficult when you're trialing people and not due to anything that they're doing, just because you suddenly have a new element in the team and things aren't necessarily going the way you might expect them to. And we've been struggling with some elements of Koth. So we just, sat down, looked at what people are doing in the new meta, and it helped work out, it's not often the lineup that's the problem, it's the way that you play the lineup. I've been saying for ages that in this game, sure, any lineup will work, but the fact is that certain lineups enable the heroes to play in certain ways, and you might be able to fill that role with something else, but it's essential that, you get that way of playing down, and that's really what you're looking for when you're watching VODs. We're looking for how teams are engaging, or at what time they might be thinking about doing things, or how they're using the certain picks to work off whatever else is being run. So there's always some effort that goes into the things that we're doing, but it's not necessarily the product of extensive research or anything like that.
Yeah, well, definitely a good point made, and hey, it paid off for you guys, whether or not you put a lot of work into it or a little bit of work. But bring it over to Noid, because Noid has, of course, joined us as well from Tainted Minds. Thank you very much for being here, Noid.
Right.
There's no two ways about it. You guys weren't able to pull out the win. It looked fairly good in some points of Lijiang, but Dorado, not so much. What went wrong for you guys?
Realistically, probably not enough practice. The only practice we've had is 2 scrims against Chiefs, and that was an hour before and yesterday as well for 2 hours.
Sounds like you got to watch more VODs.
Yeah, it's been a bit hard with me working full time, Chapos just coming from Europe, and obviously just picking up Snowblind as well. So trying to mix everyone's schedules in and get everyone back in. So we're hoping to get back into the routine, get back into it now.
So I guess I want to just bring that up as well. I mean, Chapos has just come back. You guys have had a quiet couple of days, maybe for I don't know. The time has just sort of slipped by for me now. But basically, you guys have had some time away from the scene. We haven't really seen you guys perform in tournaments for a while now. Chapos is finally back. You've got Snowblind as well. Now you've reunited the Chapman brothers. Are you guys ready to come back now? Do you think your form has returned yet, or do you need a bit more work?
I think the synergy's there. Like with everything, everyone like gets along. It's just a matter of adapting to the new meta, getting everyone comfortable on what heroes they need. Because obviously, Snowblind and Dfield kind of played very similar roles together. So it's just a matter of figuring out which hero each of them would play, and like obviously switching Chenny to support now. That's another factor that we're going in. I'm also kind of stepped down from the main tank since Chapos is back on flex, so everyone's kind of switching up their roles, and we're just figuring out what works for everyone and like what heroes, what lineups, things like that.
So yeah, hey, interesting to hear a bit of a reshuffle going on there with the roster change up, and I hope that you guys can start to gel together a little bit with that one. I do want to come back to the first map though, that Lijiang Tower, because we saw an adaptation made by Chiefs. They came out the gate with Tracer on that control room, and that was something that you guys opted to pick up a little bit later on in the map as well. What was the logic there? Did you guys feel that that was obviously something that was working and that you desperately needed? What went into that decision?
Well, going into that one, we knew Tracer was going to be an option for control point, for the control center one. It was pretty much we were feeling the Genji at the time, hoping that it would work, and with the McCree. Obviously didn't pan out as well as it should have, so we just switched to Tracer there, because originally the plan was just how we're feeling in the moment, Tracer or Genji in that point.
And to kind of follow on from that question a bit, how is that decision made in your guys' team? Who is making that decision? Do you even have a primary shot caller?
Yeah, we do have like our in-game at the start. Obviously we say the original lineups, what we want to go in, and then it's kind of just what we're feeling. Someone puts an idea out, and then the team kind of just say yeah, no, how we're feeling, maybe a counter argument to it. Just it's all on the fly, mostly leaving it up to the players individually, but obviously there is a more team discussion about what's happening. And obviously when you're not in a team fight, you do have about 5-10 seconds usually to discuss, kind of maybe switching, or when you're dying you have that time to talk as well. So it's on the individual a lot, but it's primarily going to a discussion with the team as fast as we can in that time.
And we actually hear that sentiment echoed by a lot of the teams, especially the top few teams in this league right now. So I'm going to throw exactly the same question over to you, Aporia. How do Chiefs handle the decision-making during games?
It's a bit difficult at the moment. Ideally, like we want to move towards like a more centralized like caller. As it is now, it's more like someone in particular will have an idea, and we don't typically do it like hero by hero. We try and have someone propose something that they think will work, and it's in like slight periods of downtime, and we go from there. So for instance, you know, in some situations like our lineup on the control center, where we actually teched in an extra DPS instead of running the 2 tanks, that was something that we'd seen earlier in the night when we were watching VODs, and we said, you know, let's give that a shot. Or, you know, mid-fight, mid-game, when we change something up, it might be as simple as some people can change as much as they want. So, say, Termo, for instance, on COP has a fair bit of control over what he wants to do in that flex role. He can play Zaya or Diva, or he could even switch in something else. Lately, we've been seeing a lot of Ryan Zaya in Australia, in Koth, which is weird, but I think it was just working while people were adapting to things. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of a hybrid of what Dion was saying, and also like a bit more kind of like team focused just because, like what I was saying before, like while the class itself doesn't necessarily matter, you need your team to be able to be on the same page when you're making those choices. So if you just pick something because it's what you think will be best for the situation, it might be for you, but it might not necessarily fit in with what's working for others. You got to be careful of tilt picks and that kind of thing too. So.
I want to bring another question to Aporia, and something you mentioned in regards to Turmo in particular. I see he's doing really well on the Diva and the Xayah at the moment. I really wanted to also look at, particularly for the flex role, we're actually seeing a lot less Roadhog here. Is that something that Turmo plays a lot? I know he plays it on his stream a lot when he's playing competitive queue, but it's not something we're seeing being brought up in many of the competitive and the actual matches being broadcast at the moment. Is this because of the Zenyatta orb, or is there some other factors in here? Are we going to see some Turmo Roadhog in the future?
Obviously, we'd love to, just because Turmo is ridiculously good at Roadhog. It's pretty disgusting. But yeah, Roadhog's just in a kind of awkward place between shield busting being a bit less in the meta because of teams running Diva here at the moment. That's obviously like stopping you from just right-clicking the shield from a distance and then initiating off that like we were doing in the last meta. And also the combination of Zen Orb and McCree, that's making it more difficult for Roadhog to be anything but a bit of a ult battery for the other team unless you're sitting behind shields. And just their like mid-fight fighting potential is a bit less now as well. Heroes like Xayah are becoming a bit more popular in Diva just because they're kind of a bit more suited to the way teams are playing now. You're seeing less mid-range, and you're also seeing less of that real scrappy, real close fighting, and it's kind of like a bit of a weird hybrid at the moment. And I think like Roadhog's just in a slightly difficult place because while he can't play on his own like he was doing, or not so much on his own, but separate, he also can't just sit behind the shield because he's not really achieving anything between Xayah bubbles or Diva shields or whatever it happens to be on the other team. So it really just depends on the meta. Like we do run him sometimes, but we're not going to try and force something in that doesn't really work just because Jake wants to play it kind of thing.
The other thing is something you mentioned just a little bit earlier is that you're now experimenting with the Tri DPS setup. I did see you pull out the Reaper tonight. How do you feel about Tri DPS as something that could be happening in terms of a meta shift moving forwards? Is this something that we might be seeing more of, not just from you guys, but from the scene in general, or is this something that may be short-lived in the meta?
I think it's extremely rare. There's only a certain couple, maybe a few points where it could be good. That Control Center 1 is obviously one of them. And that also depends on how the other team is playing. It's not always going to be good, and it's not something that people should expect to just work either. Might also only be something that works once. Like now teams might think, oh, hey, if they do that, there's a real easy way to stop. And, they'll sit down and work it out. Like the reason it works on that point is just because it's taking the monkey's role, and the Reaper's able to do kind of the same function as the monkey, but in a slightly scarier way. Your team shifts from being really about initiating on them all at once to just being able to kind of float, do a lot of damage close range, and then, focus down one target between the Tracer, the McCree shooting from a distance, and also the Reaper being able to, survive a lot of focus fire and get in and out and really utilize those Xayah bubbles as well. So, yeah, it's really only sometimes any kind of long range map that's not going to work.
Well, they basically, I'm going to throw it back to Pixie in a second, but, once again, congratulations tonight, and really hope you guys manage to find your new support player. Hey, if you watch the game tonight and you really like the way Chiefs play, please apply so Aporia can have a look at you and maybe get a trial in. And also to Noid as well, you guys put up a really decent effort tonight, and I hope you guys get back into the swing of things now that you got your full lineup back with the inclusion of the second Chapman brother. Other than that, I really enjoyed casting you guys, so I'm going to throw it back to Pixie.
Yeah, and thank you very much for joining us for an interview, guys. And of course, thank you very much, dear viewer, for tuning in tonight for the two matches that we were able to bring to you. And some really great matches all across the board. Really, really tense in a lot of places. Had a lot to talk about, a lot to see. And congratulations, of course, to the winners tonight. We had Quentium winning their first match. And Then we had Chiefs taking out the second one. If you guys liked the content tonight, then please go ahead and give us a follow on pretty much any of our media pages. You can find us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, all under at Heroes League TV, I believe, or alternatively at ozfortress on Twitter if you're keen on that stuff as well. Do tune in next time, guys. Same channel. We have matches most nights of the week, and we give a lot of warning as well when they're coming on up. We've got some really cool matches as well coming up next week, so stay tuned to see what those are going to be looking like, and we will be bringing as many of them as we can to you, especially the big ones like this one. And that is going to be it from us tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in, and this is good night from myself, Pixie, my co-caster Avril, and all of us here at the Heroes League TV production team. Good night.